Hi everyone! For today on Tarot Reviews with Talula, we're going to be reviewing the Wild Wisdom of the Fairy Oracle. This oracle deck by Lucy Cavendish with artwork by Selena Fenech. I apologize if I'm saying her name wrong. It's one of the first oracle decks that I ever bought, and it's one that's been very impactful in my spiritual practice. So I was shocked that I hadn't actually done a review of this deck yet, but so many of you have let me know that I haven't, and that you would like to see a review of this deck itself. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We are yet again in the middle of another giant snowstorm up here in New England. So that's why it's so white today coming through the window. We could get up to 12 inches today. So I'm having a day at home. Vincent's napping. And I'm very excited to do this review because it has been much requested, and it's very, very late in coming. It's a few years late in coming, actually. So after I purchased my first few oracle decks, I didn't really get into collecting that much, and Wild Wisdom of the Fairy Oracle is one of the first decks that I got that really gave me the bug to start collecting oracle decks because I loved this deck so much. So I actually don't have the original box that the deck came in. It's not as sturdy as Blue Angel Publishing's oracle deck boxes typically are, and that's because this is let's see, it's a 47 card deck, but so this was published in 2009, so I think that the guidebook size is much larger than their guidebooks are now, and I think they were kind of like going with what we see across the board for guidebook sizes and everything, and so the box itself was bigger than the Blue Angel boxes are nowadays, and it was just a little more flimsy. And with moving over to this place from the last apartment that we had lived in, it just didn't make sense to be able to bring that box over without it getting wrecked. So that box I have lost, but this is what the guidebook looks like. The Wild Wisdom of the Fairy Oracle Guidebook, and as you can see, it's a real guidebook. And this is what the card images themselves, the card backings look like. So it's a much larger card size. The oracle decks that we see nowadays, for the most part, are this larger size, larger than tarot decks typically are. And I think it's actually really beneficial and very helpful, because with an oracle deck you are really working with a unique interpretation of the card meanings, because it is so personal to the creators of the decks themselves. And you're also going to be interacting with the deck itself at a very intuitive level and creating your own relationship with the cards. And so I think that larger card size is very helpful because we get to see more of the image. Now, of course, many of us wish that they would do away with the borders on the cards, but unfortunately that's something that we just see in all the card images. And this deck is no different, but the beauty of this deck is that the borders are very thin and they really match the card backings, and so they don't detract too much from the images themselves. So Selena Fenech also did the artwork for the Oracle of the Mermaids deck, and for some of us, it wasn't a problem for me, although I can see why it would be a problem, but because she was going between more of a digital artwork aspect and original watercolor paintings or mixed acrylic paintings, for some of us it was a little jarring to have those two types of artistic styles kind of mixed in together in a deck. And if you are someone who found that to be a problem, if that detracted from your use of the deck, the Wild Wisdom of the Fairy Oracle deck, for the most part, the artwork is more of this watercolor type of energy feeling to it, and it's not as jarring as some of us found the Oracle of the Mermaids to be, even though for one, it didn't detract from my reading, but I do understand why it was not quite right for some people to read with as a deck because of that. Hold on a second. I'm still getting over this cold, so I'm just having a little trouble breathing still. Okay, so like I said, this is one of the first oracle decks that I purchased, and I have a very, very special relationship with this oracle deck. I think that it is a deck that works equally well if you're a seasoned reader or if you are new to Oracle decks. In fact, this is one of the Oracle decks that I would recommend for beginners because you are getting such a really great guidebook. So like I said, 47 cards, and then the guidebook is 181 pages. And so, just so you can see here, you can see I have it all highlighted and written in. There's the small reproduction size, the card title, keywords, and then you have all of this space talking about the card itself. Then it has the divinatory meanings, and then the reversed meanings. So you can see that it's really, again, a nice meaty guidebook, the way that many of us prefer our guidebooks to be. And there's also a really great introductory session as well. So if you are, let me show you. So this whole section is all on just, you know, an introduction to the guidebook and working with oracle cards. It's very thorough, and she does actually go into the Sabbats, different symbols for working with Fae, and how to set up a relationship with Fae energy as well in our lives, which I absolutely loved. And I line up with her way of working with fairy, which is that they are actual beings. And that's the type of energy that she has put into this deck. It's very respectful. It's very honoring of Fae energy. And she also has the entire scope of fairy energy in the deck itself as well. So it's not just sunshine, light, or positive. It also has the dark moon side, nocturnal energy, what we would think of as like darker energy is also represented in this deck. So you're getting a really very balanced deck, which holds masculine and feminine energies in it, and it's very connected. You don't have to be pagan to use this deck at all, but if you are pagan, it is one that works really well for the Wheel of the Year, and it's very easy to incorporate it into Sabbats or Espats or however you choose to observe the turning of the wheel. So I also have another really special relationship with this deck because I was using this deck a lot right before I got pregnant with Vincent, and this is the deck that actually let me know I was pregnant, and this was the card that I drew. Little Boy Blue. So this deck was extremely accurate in letting me know that, number one, I was pregnant and that I was going to be pregnant with a boy as well. So, I mean, I was going to be having a boy as well. So this deck is very, very special to me for that, you know, just for that reason alone. And whenever I see this card, my heart just warms so much because this card was very, very special and really let me know that my whole life is going to change in a very beautiful, big way. So I am a huge fan of Selena Fenech's artwork, and there are no images that I don't like in this deck. They are all stunning and beautiful and very mythical feeling, so you can really step into that energy of Fae when you work with this deck. I'm going to show you a few of the images now. I won't show you all of them, but I'll show you some of my favorites. And you can see that with the card you get the title of the card itself and then keywords like this one, Dreams Come True, Return of the Soul, are key meanings to this card. So this is why I feel it works well if you are a beginner or if you're a seasoned reader. The keywords are going to help you if you have trouble and you're just learning to trust your intuition, but they're not so distracting that they take away from you being able to listen to your intuition while you're reading it. So here we have Child of the Moon, Transcending the Ego and Forgiveness. So again, we're working with a lot of lunar energy with this deck. And this is where if you are someone who does follow the cycle of the moon, the Wheel of the Year, this is one of my favorite images in the deck, by the way, Beauty and the Beast. This is going to be really a beautiful part of that spiritual journey for you, and a wonderful way to work with the energies of the cycle, of those cycles as well. It's one of my favorites. I have so many favorites in this deck. The cardstock is insanely great. I have had this deck since before I got pregnant with Vincent, like before I got pregnant with Vincent. The cardstock has held up so well. I love this one. It's so beautiful. And and I use it a lot. I use this deck a lot, and it's held up really, really, really well as far as the cardstock goes. The cardstocks feel just like when I got them. They are a little stiff when you first get them, but that's fine. I don't mind that because I know I'm going to break the deck in, and to me it also means that the cards themselves are probably going to last me for a really long time. This is probably my second favorite image in the deck. And then this one's probably my third. But the feel of this deck is very romantic. So it is a beautiful deck to use across the board. And I love to use it as a clarifying deck. Here's Dark Moon. I love to use it as a clarifying deck for tarot readings. And I will also do readings with people just with this deck alone. And I have great experiences with that as well. It's one of the few oracle decks that I don't always use tarot with it. I will just use this oracle deck alone for readings. So that says a lot because I don't typically do that. Tarot is kind of like my foundation, and I really love to use tarot in readings, but this is an oracle deck that is full-bodied enough to be able to give a very clear reading for a client or a querent. This is also a great deck to use for any type of energy work or energy sessions if you offer healing sessions. I love this one too so much. It's great for if you want someone to draw a card at the beginning or the end of the session, or if you're someone who likes to set up altars. This deck is a really great one for that. And the artwork is just beautiful. So just from a standpoint of creating an inviting sacred space for someone to walk into, this deck really supports that. Love this one. And I would say to you that this is one of my key oracle decks, and it's one that I wouldn't not have in my collection. And it's also a deck that I like to give away to friends as well. Here's Solace. This one's beautiful. So again, it's quite a large deck. I mean, I'm only showing you about half of the images. All these are ones that I left out. Isn't this one gorgeous? Into the Woods. So you've got lots of cards, and it's really portraying the entirety of, okay, wait. So Silver Sister shows up a lot when there is something really, really important coming up for people, either for myself or for my clients when I work with this deck. This image, and when you read the guidebook meaning that goes along with this card, you'll kind of, like, you'll know when this card shows up, it's like, whoa, feelers out, like I need to be paying attention right now. There's a big shift occurring, and there's a lot going on. So, and the keywords for this are time to take protection from toxic thoughts and energy. So this balance of the two fade together, and there's something about this card that is really, really magical. And again, like Little Boy Blue, when it shows up, very clear meanings, and it's like big shifts are occurring for whoever the card shows up for. So that's always when I see it with this deck, I know it's like, whew, okay, time to stop, get really clear about what's going on here. So I lost what I was talking about before that because I was excited to talk about that card image. But this deck is really great for, again, setting up that type of sacred space, working with the flow of universal energies, of the energies of Earth itself, of the moon, of the cycles that we go through as humans. It's just a very empowering, loving, it's a deck that has a lot of personality as well, so it's fun to work with, and it's one that I just love to have on my altars. I almost always have this deck out. She has only really gone to sleep or gone on vacation, as I like to say, once. And I think that was more towards like the end of my pregnancy. I took a little space from her because I had been spending so much time with her. And then as soon as Vincent was born, Oracle of the Mermaids came out, and I was like, I worked with that deck for like a year straight. So I did take a little bit of a break from the Wild Wisdom of the Fairy Oracle, but for the most part, she's always out on at least one of my altars, and she's just a deck that I love to look at, to shuffle, and to work with, and I use her a lot with clients. So like I said, whether it's in a reading or an energy session, it's a deck that loves to work with people, that gives very clear messages, and that people connect with in a very visceral way. And it's a very interesting way to interact with cards as a spiritual tool, and other people, and people who might be nervous about using cards really having a profound experiences with this deck. So this deck holds a very special place in my heart. I'm very biased about this deck, and I'm probably not going to be able to give like a clear, balanced view because I love this deck, because I love this deck so much. I'm just head over heels with it. I always have been. It's one that I recommend for beginners, that I recommend for seasoned readers, or tarot readers who are just starting to work with oracle decks and are kind of like, is it just fluffy stuff? Because I don't want to do that. This deck is not just fluffy. This is the whole scope, and the guidebook really is giving you a lot of material, a lot of meat, a lot of jumping off points to explore yourself with the cards. Like I said, it's a really great deck for any type of spiritual or ritual workings or magical workings. This is a deck that has the bones to really back you up in that practice. And the artwork is just beautiful. From a collector's standpoint, it's like a must-have for your collection because it's absolutely gorgeous. And again, it has so much personality. I mean, Lucy Cavendish's decks, in my opinion, they're very well known for this. Like because she puts so much love and honor and time into the decks, there is an energy that each deck has that's very clear and very spunky, and this deck does not disappoint in that way at all. After watching one of her videos when the Oracle of the Mermaids deck first came out, I do like to combine the Wild Wisdom of the Fairy and the Oracle of the Mermaids decks in the summer. They're one of the few decks that I will put together, and that is a lot of fun. Talk about far out readings. And I pretty much only do it in the summer now. Something about the earth and the water energy together like that, the Fae with the mer people, is really powerful. And it's very interesting to watch how your workings with the deck shifts when they work together like that. So that's an option as well. If you're someone who already has both of these decks, you might want to give that a try. You might find that you like the way that the two work together as a whole. So all I can say is that this is one of my most highly recommended oracle decks. The Wild Wisdom of the Fairy Oracle is a beautiful, loving, empowering deck that is extremely well balanced because it holds the whole, the entirety of the experience within it. And it's also a wonderful way to start to interact with energy beings in a new way if you are just starting to explore that for yourself as well. The cards themselves kind of give you an anchor to feel safe. So I hope that for all of you who have requested this video, it lives up to what you all were saying to me, that you couldn't wait to see this review. If you're on the fence about buying this, I can't recommend this deck, highly enough. This is an amazing oracle deck. You won't be disappointed with this purchase. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.